Hey there, Shanna here. Welcome back to my channel all about finding joy while learning to live well with autoimmunity. I'm so glad to have you here. So today I've got Zoe with me. She's hanging out. I'm not sure. She may start snoring. She may walk away. I don't know. So today I just wanted to talk about my autoimmune flare mindset. So I received a DM on Instagram yesterday saying, Shanna, how do you handle autoimmune flares mentally? It is so difficult. The fear, the anxiety, the not knowing what's going to happen, the ups and the downs. And so I just felt for this fellow autoimmune warrior. I know personally how difficult it is to live, even when I lived undiagnosed for over 10 years with health struggles that got progressively worse, but also since my HASHIMOTO'S diagnosis when I was at my rock bottom and even since then. And so I'm going to talk about how I handle autoimmune flares mentally, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then I'll also share my tips, like some mindset tips that have worked for me. So I am approaching this today not as a functional nutritional therapy practitioner, but again, just as a HASHIMOTO'S warrior. So how do I first react when I have a flare? Just a heads up that part of living with autoimmunity is that there are ups and downs, right? There are ups and there's downs and there's in-betweens. If you are coming from your rock bottom, you probably feel like you're in a constant state of flare. At least that's how I felt at my rock bottom. And I know that as I changed the way I ate and the way I lived, I used the AIP, the autoimmune protocol, as a template. And as I changed my mindset as well, my flares, my health started to improve and I started to feel better and better and better. And it's one of those things where you don't really know how bad you felt until you start feeling better and you're like, oh, okay, I knew I didn't feel good, but that was really bad. But I just want to point out that a flare is not a failure. And I say that, but it still feels like a failure to me sometimes at first. So the idea is that as you go on your wellness journey, as you go on your healing journey, that the flares should get fewer and further in between. First thing is that I do not handle flares well at first. It's one of those things where when the first, I know that symptoms are feedback. I know that from my own experience and as a practitioner, right? But when those first symptoms come back, I tend to either go into denial or anger or a sense of unfairness. Dude, I live and eat better than anybody I know. Why is this happening? This is so not fair. So I have those feelings. Sometimes I act like a toddler, I don't want this to be happening. I don't want to feel this. I do not like to cancel plans or change plans. And after going for so long without having to do that, it can be hard to get back into needing to rest and needing to slow down and needing to communicate. It's really hard. I don't like to tell my husband when I'm not feeling well because it's hard. And so all those kind of feelings come back and I don't always process it well. So I would say when I have a flare, my natural mindset, my natural reaction is ugly. It is not positive. It is negative, and that's okay. So now that I've kind of told you what my natural reaction to a flare is, I'm going to tell you some things that I do. So I get a flare, negative reaction, feeling, anger and bitterness and unfairness and grief and fear, right? Because when a flare starts, you don't know how long it's going to last and you don't know how bad it's going to get and you don't know a lot of things. And so fear is a normal reaction too. And I would say that I almost always do initially feel that sense of fear. And again, now I'm going to talk about what I do. So 12 things 12, if you're like, why 12? So 12 things I do that help me to kind of shift that mindset, to kind of shift those emotions and those feelings. And if you're like, Shanna, why 12? I just jotted down what helped me and I counted them and there's 12. So these are not in any order. This is just me sharing with you some things that help me. So keep in mind that each of us are different, right? So what works for me and what I feel may look differently than what works for you and for what you feel. And that's okay, right? I'm on my journey and you're on your journey, and we have a lot in common, and it's a beautiful thing, but we are different too. So please, 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 if you're trying something that I suggest in this video and if it doesn't work, leave it. Like, it's okay. You don't have to do that. And maybe it will inspire you to think of something that does work. All right, so the first thing I do is I remind myself it is hard. Autoimmune disease stinks, and that there's going to be ups and downs. There's just going to be, and that's okay. So that's the first thing I do is I offer myself grace and say, hey, Shanna, it's okay. It's okay that you are kind of acting like a 2-year-old and you're not handling this well, and that you're feeling fear and all the things. The second thing I do is I remember to see my symptoms as feedback. So this is one of the most important things that I found when it comes to living well and finding joy with autoimmunity is to separate, to almost separate myself from the emotions that come with those symptoms sometimes. So the symptoms that I feel it's hard to think about anything else at first, right? Because they can be overwhelming. And I was I love Dr. Terry Walls, and I was at her seminar a few years ago, and I'll never forget, she said, how important it is to see our symptoms as a gift from God, as feedback from our bodies. In other words, I was paraphrasing her, that did not come out very eloquently, but what I meant to say is that something going on in our body that we need to know about so that we can make changes to better support our bodies, right? Our bodies are a gift. I believe our bodies are a gift from God. And so when I have symptoms come up, I try to remind myself that these symptoms are a gift from my Father in heaven, so that I know that I need to make some changes. All right, the third thing I do is I communicate with my husband, and I really, really, really don't like this one for some reason. I struggle with this one. I do have some videos where I interview my husband about our different perspectives and about how autoimmunity changed our marriage and my wellness journey changed our marriage. So I'll link those if you're interested. I've had a lot of DMs and emails from women who have watched those with their husbands, and just their husbands feeling so understood and comforted hearing my husband's point of view. So I'll link those. But and so I say that because I do talk more about this in those videos, and I don't want to repeat anything, but I will just say that it's very important that I let my husband know that I'm not okay, because the thing about autoimmunity is that for a lot of us, not all of us, but for a lot of us, it's invisible. So we look like we're fine, right? Nobody can tell the inner turmoil and the symptoms that we are experiencing. And so number one, I have to tell my husband, hey, I'm in a flare. And over the years now, he's gotten to where he recognizes it more so than he ever has. And then I let him know what I need, right? Because he can't fix it, but I can let him know how he can support me. Number 4, the next thing I do is I stop comparing myself to other people, and I stop comparing myself to who I used to be. Most of the time I do really, really well with this. It's something that I've learned over the years, is that comparison is the thief of joy, and that what other people think of me is none of my business, and that we're all different. So I have gifts and strengths, and I have weaknesses, and that looks different than others. But when I get into a flare, some of these old natural tendencies and habits that aren't supportive come back, because maybe I'm more tired than usual, or I've got brain fog, or I've got muscle pain, and it's just kind of easy to let go of mindset habits that I previously had. So I stopped comparing myself to other people. I believe that there's value in struggle, and that there's things I can learn and grow, and that I'm experiencing this for a reason. Is it fun? No. Would I have chosen it myself? I don't think so. No, I say I don't think so because a lot of beautiful things have come out of it for me. I mean, I changed careers, I get to connect with you, I get to work with amazing clients, I have an awesome group coaching program I love to coach, and so a lot of beautiful things in my life have come from this heartache and pain autoimmunity. So that's why I said I don't think I would choose it, but anyways, it's just tough. All right, number 5, and again, this is not the 5th thing I do. This is probably one of the first things I do, but this is just the list I made. I rely on my faith. So I remember to pray and to ask my Father in heaven and my Savior for help. I remember that I am not alone, and I remember that I can bring my struggles and lay them at my Savior's feet, and that I can be an instrument in the hands of my Father in heaven, in the hands of God through the experiences I have in this life. And that helps me to put things in perspective. The next thing that I do at number 6 is I choose to see myself as the hero in my story. So this isn't taking anything away from my faith or from my Savior, but if I'm looking at my story, I see myself as a hero, as in I focus on what I can control and I try to let go of what I can't. So if I'm in a flare, I can't control my symptoms, right? Like, they're just happening. And so I'm not going to focus on those. Instead, I'm going to focus on what I can do. So I'm going to think about, all right, am I drinking enough water? Am I sleeping? Am I managing stress? Am I upping my stress relief? Because going through a flare is stressful, and then that could exacerbate issues, right? I'm a lot better off when I focus my energy and my time and my thoughts and my actions on things that are in my control. And usually once I make that switch, I do start to feel better as well. Which brings me to the next thing that I do, number 7, is to trust the process. It can be hard when we get into a flare and we thought we were doing all the things. Like, why is this happening? I was doing all the health things. And what I found is that I found a couple things. Number 1 is that sometimes we experience an autoimmune flare and we don't know why. And that's okay. Number 2 is that if we keep eating the way that we know we need to eat in order to live our best lives, and that could look a bit different than each of us, right? I eat a modified AIP. It's not even really like a paleo template, but I have a lot of reintroductions, and so I found a way of eating that I feel best. Usually I can see a flare coming pretty soon, which is something that you'll notice as you go, is that it's up to us to learn the signs of our body, right? If we know that, okay, one of my first signs is I get a bit cranky, or I get more tired, or I get brain fog, or I get joint pain in my fingers, or I get certain things, then I know that I need to tighten up my nutrition and lifestyle and mindset, or maybe a flare is going to come on. So I've heard people say, well, I already feel terrible. I'm gonna eat what I want then because I need my comfort food. Well, if the comfort food is hurting you and causing you more pain, it's not a comfort food, right? We want to find comfort foods that also support our health. So I see it as an opportunity to just trust the process. Trust that what I'm eating and how I'm living and how I'm thinking, I'm going to feel better. I know I'm going to feel better. I don't know when. So I trust the process. I focus on the process. So the next thing I do is a gratitude journal. And this is something that I regularly do. I do it most mornings, but I really focus on it during a flare because it can be easy to get down on myself and down on life when I'm in a flare. And so I really try to write down 5 things every morning that happened in the last 24 hours that I am grateful for. And I found that last part is key. So 5 things that I'm grateful for that happened in the last 24 hours. Sometimes it might be hard during a flare to come up with those, but it is possible, and it really helps me to see the beauty in the small things and to be grateful for the small things. And it's like a slippery slope where if I can do that in the morning, then I have a better mindset throughout the day. All right, so the other thing I do as far as journaling is number 9, I keep a victories journal, especially when I'm in a flare. And what I mean by I keep a victories journal is in the evening, think about my day, and I write down things I did that day that I can be proud of. And I found that that's really important, especially during a flare, because we have value. Our value and our self-worth is not dependent on how our body feels. You and I still have value even if we are in bed during a flare. There are things that we can do that we can be proud of. It can be as simple as I gave, my son a hug, or I talked with my daughter through something that she really needed to have some support with, or I slow danced, with my husband. I love doing that. Or it can be I read my scriptures, or it can be I was really cranky and I chose to write in my gratitude journal anyway. Or it can be literally anything. Number 10, the next thing that I like to do is pull in some positive affirmations. And this just helps me when I have a negative thought, that I recognize it and then I try to replace it with a positive thought. I don't know if replace is the right word, but I try to just like let it go, and then I try to think of a positive thought or affirmation. A few of them that I love when I'm in a flare, or sometimes anyway, I love them anyway, is I trust my body's innate ability to heal itself, and I love and support myself exactly the way I am. The other positive affirmation I love is that I trust that I am divinely guided and protected at all times. And that affirmation reminds me that I believe that there is purpose in my struggles. I believe there is purpose in the hard times that I have, even in autoimmune flares. I believe that it brings me closer to my Father in heaven. It reminds me of what's important. It gives me perspective. It helps me be more empathetic and loving. It helps me on so many levels. And so I try to remind myself that I am divinely guided and protected, and that it's all gonna be okay. All right, and then just two more, and they're kind of funny ones. Maybe not funny, maybe silly ones, but the first one is belly laughing. And if you're like, Shanna, really? I love to belly laugh. I lost my laugh for a while when I lost my health, and I realized I had heard my husband and my kids laughing, and I realized I don't remember the last time I laughed, and this is an issue. And I couldn't even think of what to laugh about. Like, I couldn't make myself laugh. And so it took me time to like find that belly laugh again. And once I found it, I committed that I was gonna belly laugh every day with my nasty snort that I do with it. It's not nasty. I don't think it's nasty anymore. I think it's kind of endearing. I don't know. I'll have to ask my husband. And then the other thing is that I wasn't gonna lose it again when I get into a flare. And so if I'm struggling to belly laugh, I love to turn on some of my favorite like sitcoms like Parks and Rec or The Office. I don't know if you can see my shirt, it says choose happiness. And I really try hard to consciously choose happiness. I am not perfect at it. I do not wake up happy, sunshine, positive every day. I do some days, but I have to actively work on my mindset and my thoughts and choose joy and look for gratitude. Last thing is slow dancing. So I love to slow dance barefoot in the kitchen with my husband, or really anywhere, and it just makes my heart happy. That's my autoimmune flare mindset. That's how I handle it mentally. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please comment and share and let me know, and all of us know, what your tips are, what helps you during a flare. I would love to learn and grow and share and support one another. If you have not already, please hit subscribe. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being here. Please know I am sending you so much love and support. I know autoimmune flares are miserable. With that said, there are things that we can do to get through them mentally and to help our mindset and to choose joy and love and hope and grace and all of the things. So have a wonderful week. Lots of love and support.